chat box where there's a link. We are slightly out of time, but we have another comment from Phyllis M. Weaver who says, who has a question, and if Cheryl, you could answer it quite briefly. Is it true that women entrepreneurs are many times outside the loop with funding and marketing? And another comment from Mary Kajbahal, Karbajal, to say on top of this, there are more than 3%, less than 3% of women in the VC space.
Exactly. So I said 5% of partners of VC companies are female. Fortunately, this is changing. There is more female-friendly funding, as they call it. So this tackles both of those challenges, that women are indeed overlooked as far as funding and outreach. Again, that's why we have this persistent image that it's a white, highly educated young male who is the target of all communications, but also the face of those communications. So of course, women who are women of color, who are of an older age group, who are maybe don't have an MBA, don't feel that they are targeted with that outreach. And this is very much the thing that we need to change.
Wonderful. I think, does anyone else have any questions, or are we able to, for the purpose of time, text Cheryl in the chat box, and then we can maybe move on to the next speaker. But I think Dr. Florence Lisabwe has some comment. Please, can you go ahead?
Yeah, thank you so much, Sherry. I'm really delighted that you brought this on the table because this is really an issue dear to the Fondation-Lab as we have experienced the pandemic impact on women in the small businesses, especially women involved in the cross-border trade. So I think that the next step for us in our next, we have talked about a collaboration, and I'm so happy about that. I think that the next step will be to ensure that social entrepreneurship proceeds in tandem with digitalization.
I'm sorry, I'm muted, but absolutely. I mean, I think now that we are all focusing on the Sustainable Development Goals, as we should, and this is a perspective that women uniquely bring, I believe. So the focus on social entrepreneurship, the access to technology, and all of this driven by women from the grassroots, but also from the top down. So we also have to demand more women in leadership, more women's voices. Don't be afraid to ask for quotas. Look at what the situation is in Rwanda, which is a leader, as far as parliamentary participation by women. And this we should be demanding the world over so that we can bring all of these three things together. And I'm thrilled for us to be able to work on this topic together. Thank you, Dr. Nisambe.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Cheryl Miller-van Dijk. I think we are good to move on to the next speaker now, who is Dr. Joanne Roll. And I will keep her intro brief, but hopefully highlight some of her key accomplishments. Okay, sorry, one moment. Dr. Joanne Roll, sorry, it's Dean Joanne Roll according to her profile on the platform, but I will refer to you as Dr. Roll. Dr. Roll's a visionary leader with leadership that integrates business and technology acumen, partnership building, creative problem solving, one-of-a-kind entrepreneurial academic innovator, and a global thought leader on topics of the future of work and entrepreneurship for the underserved and in workforce diversity and development. With over 20 years of board experience as a member, treasurer, and secretary on nonprofit and private company boards, Dr. Roll is open to additional private or public boards, especially in EdTech, ESG, fintech industries. She's also a consultant for about 30 years to the federal government, corporations, and various educational and non-profit organizations. She's worked as a senior economist with the World Bank projects in Tanzania, and she was an admin fellow in the audit department at Harvard University, before a manager of corporate executive training at IBM, and she became a higher education leader 26 years ago. So Dr. Roll, I would like to hand over the platform to you to share your presentation with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that exhaustive presentation. Now I really do feel anxious. Oh God, I'm almost embarrassed. I want to first say that I've really been inspired by the presentations that have come before us. In the one presentation, it talked about the importance of this work. In another presentation, it shared with you that New York is the #1 leader of minority businesses in the US. And number two, I just want to share with you that among women businesses in this country, the fastest growing sector is among Black women. So I want to also bring you greetings from our President Patricia Ramsey. She is the 6th president of Medgar Evers College, City University of New York. However, she is the first woman president that we have the honor of having lead this great institution. I bring you greetings from the family of students, faculty, and community. And our college was born out of social justice, as in the name Medgar Evers, the slain civil rights leader. I want to talk about, and let me put myself on timer, because you know academics, we can go on, and I want to stay on my time. We started this work in 2016, and we had 2 conferences there. One was social entrepreneurship. We led with that, and I wish I could tell you it was the academics that decided to lead with social entrepreneurship, but no, it was our students who wanted to give back. We had students that wanted to be in business, but not just necessarily business for the sake of business. They wanted to give back to the community that it came from. And the second part was corporate social responsibility. So in 1 year, we had 2 conferences, one building on the small businesses that we have so many of in New York, and then the other, how to marry the work that's done in the small businesses as well as the large corporations. I will tell you, we were funded by Carnegie Corporation, City University of New York, and several other banks. And with that funding, we had the conferences, but we also took our students who were budding entrepreneurs to several countries around the world to study entrepreneurship. We went to Kenya 3 times, and our work with Kenya started with Startup Africa, and it was, as you see in this picture and in this picture, both in Nairobi and upcountry, looking at what we could do with women entrepreneurs. And the 3 conferences in Kenya were women entrepreneurship conferences. So I won't take long, and this is on this picture was the social entrepreneurship conference. And I want to just give recognition to Erastus Morere. He's right here. On Friday, they will be celebrating the 10th year of Startup Africa, with a primary focus of developing women businesses in Kenya. So this brief time I have with you, I want to talk a little bit about our challenge, which is the worldwide income equity. You heard a little bit about it in a couple of the previous presentations. I want to talk a little bit about our work. And then I want to talk about the global informal economy. You heard that, you know, women are disproportionately represented, but the truth of the matter is many of the women businesses are just not counted. And we'll talk about that as well. And we'll talk about global recovery. And this is from a new IMF report. 2 of those are from IMF reports. But I don't want to leave you with just the problem and the challenges. I want to share with you one of the bottom-up strategies about community community engagement and how to get real benefits by not just starting top down, but looking bottom up and actually consulting, working and collaborating with the community. In this picture that you see here, it was us up country in Kenya at one of the girls' schools, which started teaching entrepreneurship in the school, and our students who were studying entrepreneurship also becoming mentors to some of those students. And we actually have one of the students in our alumni now who sourced his complete business out of Kenya and now is running a business in collaboration. But let's talk about the challenge. I'm an economist by training. And although our team that we work together from the time of 2016 includes cross sections of marketing, physicists, NGO leaders, and entrepreneurs, we look through the lens of what is happening to the world via income and wealth. And you saw a little bit about that. But what I want to share with you is the problem is not a US problem. The problem is not an Africa problem. It is not a Latin American problem. It is a global problem. In this particular graph, you see that 10% of the national income, the darker the map, the more inequitable it is. And the darkest parts of the map, they earn anywhere between 50 to 70% of the income. And you can see in Latin America and in Africa, you have a tremendous amount of the wealth, as well as some of the other countries, owned by only 10% of the income earners. And, even in the US, we are not that great. And Russia, it is not that great. It's anywhere between 43 and 50% is driven by 10%. So we have a real global problem when we start looking at the distribution of income. So the issue is not resources, it's the allocation of the income. And so we say the future of work and entrepreneurship for the underserved is a struggle for humanity. It is not a new struggle. We have been struggling for a very long time. If you know the UN, the number one goal is to eradicate poverty, but it is with the backdrop of that data that I have just shared with you. So what is our work? We want to talk about our why. As leaders, we need to allow ourselves to experiment, try things out, make adjustments. Leaders navigating the future of work will find themselves experiencing the uncomfortable stages of the creative process. They may also be surprised by what they discover is possible. This is one of the leaders in the future of work, Jeff Schwartz, who is with Deloitte, and that's out of his brand new book that came out earlier this year. And part of our reason for why is to get more voices from Africa, more voices from Latin America, and more voices from the US talking about this work, how we need to evolve and shape the future of work as it relates to us. So let me talk a little bit about the formal global economy, because what you saw in the data is what we track. But we don't track a lot of what's happening in a lot of the underserved areas. And so this is a report out of the IMF that came out early this year, mid-year. What do we know about the informal economy? This sense of urgency has only been reinforced by the coronavirus disease 2019 and the pandemic. The pandemic has crushed informal activities, particularly in developing countries, but I also say in other underserved, even in developed countries, where large segments of the population are not covered by existing social protection schemes. And so even though the data looks bad, we know it's worse because many that we talk about are not in the numbers. So let's talk about in the shadows, informality has receded across all regions, but remains large in sub-Saharan Africa and in Latin America. And let's go to some of the underlying reasons why. I was giving this talk, a similar talk like this at Kenyatta University in Nairobi. And I was mentioning, because I will go back later in the presentation and talk about the Latin America case study that we looked at. But in Latin America, specifically in some countries like Colombia, the informal economy evolves out of the drug economy. And I will talk about that. But in Kenya, they have an informal economy, but the reason being is the cost of doing business is very high. The taxes, the registration, all of that is high. So, these are entrepreneurs. They do the math. And so many of them survive. It's not just the street vendors, but many of them survive under the radar because of the expenses of registering the businesses. And so they have an under economy that is fueled by the need of making margins, making profit, being able to help their families survive. And this was happening pre-pandemic. It just got more escalated post-pandemic. So let's continue on and talk about part of the solutions. We did a book that we released earlier this year in June, the Handbook on the Future of Work and Entrepreneurship for the Underserved. And the purpose of that book was to give more voices from more countries to talk about what was happening in their economies, what was happening in their regions. You will read a lot about the future of work, but very seldom does it come from our voices. And so in this particular one, these scholars have been working, I'd say, for 2 decades, long before the future of work evolved as a subject. And what they did was they went into the cities where in Latin America, where there was crime, where there was poverty, where there was a problem. And they didn't just come up with a solution. They talked to the residents and developed a shared vision. What did the community want to see in the future for their own community? A lot of times, some of our policymakers make policy and about the ghetto or about the slums, and they have never seen a slum. They've never been in a slum. They don't know what it feels like to fight from day to day to earn your living. And so what these scholars, they were not armchair scholars. They went into those homes and they talked to the women. It was the women that gave them the insight. It was the women that told them, we don't want our husbands to die. We don't want our fathers to die. We don't want our brothers to die. We would rather have them home with us, but we need an alternative. We need a way for us to support our families and those we love. And so they begin shaping a vision and a formula together with the public and the private sector for each pieces of the city. And what they call it is city doctors framework, is because the city that has the problem, it is not just the housing, it is not just jobs, it is not just security, it is not just education and training or health or waste management. Some of the sewage was non-existent, as in many of the places. If you've been into some of these places, you would know that the infrastructure is a problem. So they brought together a shared vision and they worked together with the academics, with the small businesses, with the government, with the large corporations, and they came up with an alternative economy so that the people didn't have to rely so much on the drugs. A lot of people say drugs are bad, but then what else do some people have to live? People will survive. They will find a way to survive. They will find a way to sustain those families. And so you can't just tell them, get out of the drug business. You got to replace it. And so they replaced it with many, multiple businesses. And I will tell my colleagues in the academy, they had to change. A college education is good, but if it doesn't lead to a job, it's a challenge. So they developed just-in-time education, apprenticeships, other forms of training training so that they would be ready for the marketplace. And yes, again, there were some who still got college education, but it wasn't the only game in town. We as educators need to learn that we have to adapt and change to the market needs. I will tell you one of the reasons that we came together with my colleagues. I got to watch my time, y'all. I'll go over it if I don't watch it. We came together in 2016 because we had a problem. We were producing a lot of product out of Jamaica, out of Chile, out of Kenya. A lot of our graduates just were not getting jobs. And I'm not just talking about our undergraduate students. We had PhDs that couldn't find work. Why? There weren't enough teaching positions around the world for them. In fact, in Chile, the problem, and we had a physicist on our team, was if his graduates wanted to work, they had to leave Chile and go somewhere else. And many of them didn't want to leave home. They didn't want to leave Chile. So they sat right there in Chile and developed entrepreneurial businesses. And so we evolved out of a need for creating job creators. You know, we got a lot of job seekers. We don't have to worry about creating job seekers. But in the communities we serve, we need to create more job creators. And so that's the community engagement that they had in the several of the Latin American countries that my colleagues developed. And they are the #1 lead chapter in our book, The Future of Work and Entrepreneurship, that came out in June. So I want to give you some practical implications and conclusions, and I'm still watching my time. We propose that unity in community and capacity building is vital to create shared prosperity. Academics, politicians, corporations, don't go out there and try to do it alone. Industry, if you try to do it alone, you will find, like now, there is a supply shortage of labor. Why? People don't want to work like they used to work. If you mandate that all of these women go back to where they came from, you will find that they will find alternative strategies to provide for their home. And that's what we're seeing in some of the data. The informal economy was disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. We don't really know how bad it is in the underserved world, because many of those in the underserved world are just not measured for a lot of different reasons. Here, even in the US, there are pockets within the cities where we just don't know what's going on. And, you know, you could claim that, you know, we don't have the same problems, but we have some of the same issues. Many people are not counted for many different reasons. And earlier, Dr. E said, vote. Well, many people are not voting because they don't want to be counted, because there are issues with how the system works. I'm not justifying, I'm just sharing that there's a reason. Okay, global recovery will require a shared vision and international collaboration of the diaspora and others. We cannot solve these problems by ourselves. No one country can solve these problems. When we saw the pandemic come, in order for a solution or a quasi-solution, all of the countries of the world had to work together and bring in the collective intellectual capital to help solve the problem. One of the tragedies is, and I will tell you because I have colleagues who are in India. India is the largest producer of some of the vaccines. However, India ships it out to everybody else, and they continue to have problems with the death toll and, in the country. So, you know, this is not just a one country problem. We have to put our heads together to work together to make things happen for the underserved worldwide, not just in one place. Just because you have the money to buy the vaccine doesn't mean that you should have all the vaccine. We hope that further dialogue in the academy and the industry and policy on how to ensure that all are included in the future growth of all economies. I don't want to go back to normal. You know what normal is? Normal is that map you saw I first identified. Normal is underserved, being poor, and the majority of the world being poor. We can do better. We must do better, and we want to be better than our old normal. And as I come, I want to share with you this. We went to the girl, and it wasn't by accident. We went to a girls' school to talk about entrepreneurship. We understand that a lot of the entrepreneurial activity in Africa and around the world, women lift up the boat. Yes, there are many mothers, daughters, and sisters that are responsible for those families, no matter what happens to everybody else. And they rise, whether they have to do it formally or informal. Indeed, our communities can serve as laboratories for innovation. We can't just do what we did before. It yield those numbers I showed you. We got to be innovative. That's why I love the Innovation-Lab that has come on and say, you know, let's look at everybody. Let's look at social entrepreneurship, where we can develop and test reskilling programs, explore the creation of transition nets, and reset local agendas as a precursor to resetting national policies and programs. There are jobs. There will be more jobs. But will we be ready? Will our children be ready? Will our legacy be that we prepared our children for the world that they will be living in to come? And so that it's not an absence of jobs, it's being prepared. This is our handbook. It was edited by myself and two Kenyan collaborator scholars, Dr. Kasato out of Kenyatta University and Dr. Kibaya, both out of, but this is what I want to share with you. You too can have a voice. You too can work in this work. We are producing a new book, an editor in the US, the previous editor was in the UK, on sustainability and the future of work and entrepreneurship for the world, for the underserved. Let your voice be heard. So that it's not an absence one of the jobs, editors is prepared. This is the reason I want you to hear this. And this book explores the global income disparity from both the formal and informal economy perspectives with a special focus on post-COVID outcomes and highlight. This is what I want to share with you. You too can have a voice. Specific focus. You too can work in this work. Adaptation. We're producing a new book and resilience, growth, and sustainability. We start lots of businesses. That's not the problem. Startup is not the problem. Sustainability and scalability is the challenge. This book also offers recommendations from thought leaders like yourself. I want you on the needed collaborations between industry. Explores the global income disparity from government, formal, and community to economy, inclusive outcomes, special emphasis on inclusive outcomes for the future, and highlights different workforce. We all have a responsibility. Don't just sit back and let someone else determine how we shape and lessons learned working on resilience, growth, and sustainability. Join. We start lots of businesses. That's not the problem. Here is the link if anyone is sustainability and scalability is the challenge. This book also offers recommendations from thought leaders like yourself. So thank you on the needed collaborations between industry, academic time, government, and the community to improve inclusive outcomes.
Dr. Joanne Rose, that was one powerful presentation.
We all have a responsibility.
Don't
just sit back and let someone else determine how we shape the
but you're definitely on my list of people that I want to spend the evening having a glass of South African wine with.
Movement.
And maybe
Here
watching
is
an
the
African
link
sunset.
if anyone is interested in sending the
so
abstract.
That was really powerful. So thank you so much. And you've really raised some very, very important points,
and
but also not just raised them, raised them in a way that made me want to say, Amanda, Dr. Joanne Roll, that was one struggle presentation. I want to have dinner with you, and I'm sure there's many in our audience who want to do the same. I see that there's a couple of but you're definitely on my list of people that I want to spend having a glass of South African wine with, and maybe watching an African sunset. Topic is very interesting. So that was really in our hands. So thank you so much. Is continent of the future. It has really raised some very, very important points. The future, but also not just raised them. I met with raised them in a way that made me want to say to my university to present his struggle on Africa's development. We all agree that Africa is a growing continent of economic growth, and by that, and that for you, she will be redeemed by entrepreneurship. Hence, knowing that Africa is majorly made of underserved populations, the future of Africa is in our hands, that is their and our continent is continent of the future. It has lots of entrepreneurial opportunities. The future is
I'm just
there.
checking if we've got any
Yesterday, I met
questions
with
here.
the former PM of Mali.
So
Who
a
came
couple
to
of
my
comments just to
university
say
to
thank
present
you. It
his
was
couple
great on on how to rethink Africa's development.
If anyone has
We
a
all
question
agree that
or
Africa
two
is a growing
Dr.
continent
Joanne
of
Rowe,
economic
before we
growth,
break for a
and
comfort
by
break,
that and while we have the
she will
comfort
be
break, we
redeemed by
will be sharing a
entrepreneurship.
little video.
Hence,
Knowing that
I'm
Africa
just
is majorly
checking on our chat box
made
here.
of underserved
We'd like to
populations.
get in touch with you.
Governments should make policies that ease their
Roll,
access to
if you could
opportunities.
please
Share your
develop their
contact
business. Thank you so
information
much for that comment.
with the chat
Um,
box. I think
I'm just checking
that
if
would
we've
be
got any
appreciated.
questions here.
Thank you so much. So a couple of comments just to say thank you. It was great. I don't see any further questions or any hands raised. If anyone has a question or two, I apologize. Dr. Joanne Rowe, before we break, I think I'm going to and while we have the comfort break, we will be sharing a little video. I'm just checking. I just want to double check that here. We'd like to get in touch 10 minutes long. It's a comfort break, and then Roll, if you have a video playing, share your contact. Don't go anywhere. Just possibly put yourself on mute. I think have your comfort break and get back to us. Thank you so much. This is really exciting and interesting. Okay, and we would love to continue. I don't see any further questions or any hands raised. If I've missed that, I apologize, but I think I'm going to allow the tech team to draw us into break. And I just want to double check that the break will be 10 minutes long, comfort break, and then we will have a video playing. Don't go anywhere. Possibly put yourself on mute. Have your comfort break and get back to us. Because this is really exciting and interesting, and we would love to continue with the same energy. Thank
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for staying on board. The next speaker is going to be Dr. Sorry, I'm just opening up my schedule here. It's going to be Dr. Ralph Steele, who is also a partner at our conference or summit. Dr. Steele, I don't see you. Ah, there you are, Dr. Ralph's iPad. Okay, Dr. Steele is a very well-respected economist. Welcome back, everyone. Thought leader. Thank you so much for. I would love for Lotus staying on board. For Dr. Lotus to do his introduction. Lotus, are you available? Dr. Sorry, I'm just opening up my schedule here. I think there might be going to be Dr. Ralph Steele, so I'm going to go ahead. Who is also a partner introducing at our conference or summit speaker to the audience. Dr. Steele, I don't see you. Just a second. There you are, Dr. Ralph's iPad. Okay, Dr. Steele Dr. Steele is a very well-respected economist, expert, and wealth thought leader and has released powerful I would love for Lotus. His mission is to educate individuals to do in theory and practice Lotus about economics, financial literacy, investments, entrepreneurship, business ownership. There might be a slight delay, so I'm going to go financial strategies. As well as his favorite phrase being well speaker to the audience. I would like to allow Dr. Steele to now take over our platform and share his thought leadership with us. Dr. Steele is an extraordinary, as I said, he is the author of quite a number of books and has released very much powerful leader in this field. His mission is to educate individuals in theory and practice about
morning,
economics, financial
thank you very
literacy,
much.
investments,
Pleasure to be here. I'm honored
business
to be
ownership,
here, and
being
what have you.
debt-free, financial strategies,
Now, my
as well as
the
his favorite
technology
phrase
people
being
should
wealth
have
is
my
a human right.
PowerPoint.
I would like to allow Dr.
Put it
Steele to
on
now take
so
over
everyone
our
can
platform
see it.
and share his thought leadership with us on this very important topic. As I said, he is the author of quite a number of books. And very much a thought leader Dr. Steele. The tech team will upload you so much and welcome to the platform, Dr. Steele.
Correct. In the meantime, good morning. Yes, I appreciate very much. Very nice to be here. I'm honored to be here. And what have you. I am an author of 21 books. Now, my wealth building, the technology even people should have women. And in our PowerPoint, put it on so everyone can see it. Dr. Rose said globally is definitely an issue that we all need. They should have it, and the technology, and if you will, we can collaborate.
Thanks, Dr. Steele. The tech
make
team
things
will
better
upload
for everyone, and especially for women as well. In the meantime, yes, I appreciate your. So I'll just wait now. Very nice, kind words. Uploading of the. And what have you. I am an author of 21 books. Message that wealth building, and even specifically for women, and in Africa, and the
not to have received it in order or in the right format.
Dr. Rose said globally is definitely an issue that we all need to do, and and if you will, we can collaborate and make things better for everyone, and especially for women as well.
Give us a moment
and
to
so
get that
that's
presentation
basically
up and
where
running.
I'm
Thank
at.
you.
So I'll just wait now for the uploading. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that.
Sorry, Dr. Steele, I've just got a
them.
message that you would need to upload the presentation because the tech team seems not to have received it in order. Or in the right format. So maybe if you could share your screen with us, is that possible?
Let me see.
Apologies if this causes any delay, but please give us a moment to get that presentation up and running. Thank you.
Okay.
Dr. Steele, you would need to hit the screen share, the share screen button, which is the green one.
Let me see.
Right in the middle of the page, and it should be easy enough for you to share from that button. Thank you. Or the next option would be for you to just speak through your presentation. I'm sure we can pick up on your talking points. Thank you.
Let me see.
Dr. Steele, you would need to hit the screen
Okay,
the share screen button, which is the green one, right in the middle of the page, and it should be easy enough for you to share from that button. Thank you.
Let me see here.
Or the next option would be for you to just speak through your presentation. I'm sure we can sharing pick up on your talking
maybe
points.
we
Thank
can
you.
have
Some comments on how the event is going so far. What thoughts do you have
Okay,
about
hold on a second.
the content that's being shared? Do you feel any benefit from this? Is there something more that you would like to hear from the speakers, or different focus areas? Something that they would like to hone in on, or something that's quite passionate to you? We'd love to hear from you.
Let's see here.
Thank you so much. I think while Dr. Steele is prepping his screen sharing, maybe we can have some comments.
Thank you, Mary.
On
Mary
how
says,
the event
love
is going so far.
Huge benefit
What
from the knowledge
what
share.
thoughts do you have about
Grateful for the topics,
the
brought to
content
the
that's
table
being
thus
shared?
far? Thank you so
Do
much,
you
Mary.
feel any benefit
That's great.
from this?
And I
I think
we all
more
agree
that you
with
would
you
like
that
to
some
hear
of
from the
the
speakers
conversations
or different
are
focus
very
areas,
insightful. It's
something that they
strong
would like to hone in on, or something that's
opening
quite
up
passionate to
our
you.
minds and awareness.
We'd love to
to
hear from you. To things that are happening around the world that also impact and affect us as well. Also, Lotus Riche says, the content is magnificent.
Mary
And we are
says,
seeing
love the
people,
conversations,
huge
benefit
from the knowledge
all
share,
around the world,
grateful for the topics brought to the table thus far.
Thank
We're
you
very
so
happy
much,
to hear
Mary.
from
That's
everyone.
great.
And I think we all agree with you that some
Mary
of the
says that it would be
conversations
great to
are
have
contact
very
information from
insightful.
speakers, strong perspective.
What is there
It's opening
ask
up
to this
our minds
community?
and awareness
How can
to,
we best help?
to things that are happening around the world.
We will
That
have
also
all contact
impact and
information
affect us
available
as well.
I believe that some of the
Also,
speakers have
Lotus
shared, but for
Riche
those who have
says
not,
the
we will
content
make
is
that,
magnificent,
information
and we are
public
seeing
with their
people,
consent.
Magda has said everything is going great.
Chiming
The
into
topic
our
of the
live
discussion
broadcast.
is an alarming
Wonderful.
theme to bring
We're
on.
very happy to
We
hear
agree.
from everyone.
Thank you so much, Magda,
who
for
is
sharing that thought.
contributing.
It surely is
Mary says that
alarming.
it would be great to have
and also
contact
inspiring
information
to
from
consider the
speakers
opportunities that lay ahead
and what
for the
is
future,
their ask to this
and especially the
community.
synergies
How
that
can
we
we
can
best
find
help?
between all of our parties.
And yes, I agree. We will
we have Hillary
all contact
Gooden
information
shares.
available.
This content is quite
I believe that
valuable,
some of the
and I
speakers
am
have
glad
shared,
to
but
be
for those who
here
have
to
not,
partake
will make that
of the
information
knowledge being
public
shared.
with their consent.
Absolutely,
Hillary.
Magda has
There's
said
a lot of
everything is
knowledge
going
power
great.
in here.
The topic of the discussion is an
and
alarming
it's really
thing
interesting
to hear
we
what
agree,
is being shared.
Thank you so
and
much,
at what
Magda, for
level.
sharing that thought.
I'm just going to
surely
check in
is
with Dr. Ralph
alarming.
Steele.
Have you
and
made
also
any
inspiring
progress
to
there?
consider the
Let me
opportunities that
hold
lay
on
ahead
one
for the
second.
future,
Let's see here.
and especially the synergies that we can find
might just-
between all of our parties.
We have Hillary Gooden who shares
Mary,
this
we've
content
noted
is
that you
quite
have to drop on a
valuable,
call, but
and I am
thank you
glad
so
to
much.
be
And
here
also,
to partake
for those of us who are still
of the knowledge being
participating,
shared.
note
Absolutely,
that it is
Hillary,
a live stream.
there's a lot of
currently
knowledge
on
power
YouTube.
in here.
If you'd like,
And
sorry,
it's really
I think I'm just
interesting
going to share
hear
what is being
I'll
shared
share
and at
the
what
link
level.
with you once again.
I'm just going to check in with
and
Dr.
feel
Ralph
free
Steele.
to
Have you
share
shared
this
this
presentation
presentation on
there,
your
sir?
platforms
Let me hold
as
on
well
one second.
as on your social media? And note also that
I might just-
we are running the same session tomorrow.
Okay.
We will
Mary,
have a
we've
range
noted
of
that you have to
speakers
drop
for you
on a
to,
call, but thank you so much. And
connect
also,
with. For those of us who are still participating, note
please
that
do join us again
it isn't
tomorrow.
a live stream currently on YouTube. If you'd like, sorry, I think I'm just going to share I'll share
another
the
comment
link
here.
with you once again in the chat box.
Phyllis
And
says,
feel free.
I'm excited to
share this
summit to use
presentation
as I
on your
develop
platforms as well as
my
on
business.
social
I'm
media.
inspired because I'm
And
a
note
mature woman
also that
who has just started
we
my
are
business
running
near
the
60
same
years old.
session
That's
tomorrow.
incredible. Well done, Phyllis.
We will
we're
have
very
a
proud of
range
your
of speakers
achievements,
for you to
well done.
connect
Dr.
with. Steele, are you good to go? Perhaps you should just
please
talk through
do
your
join us
talking
again
points
tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll just do that then.
Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm not getting. I'm not getting, but that's okay. So
another
we can.
comment here.
Can you hear me? Am I clear?
Phyllis says,
Absolutely.
I'm excited to glean from the summit
Okay, so
use as I
I'm
develop
gonna go ahead and talk through it. And
my
the
business.
title
I'm
of my
inspired because I'm a
presentation
mature
today
woman
is
who has just
Creative
started my
Economics,
business near 60 years
Growth
old.
and
That's
Expansion.
incredible. Well done, Phyllis.
Creative
We're very proud of
Economics,
your achievement.
Growth and
So,
Expansion.
well
And
done.
when you look
Dr.
at social
Steele, are you good to
entrepreneurship
go?
can advance
Perhaps you should just
women's role
talk through
using
your
the
talking
lens of
points.
business and ownership.
Yeah, I'll just do that.
The role of women in
Thank you
business
so
and
much.
the
Wonderful.
world,
Yeah,
I'm not
and
getting,
especially in Africa,
I'm not
can
getting, but
advance
that's okay.
with
So
strategic goals of growth.
Can you hear me? Am I clear?
Absolutely.
Strategic
Go
goals
ahead.
of growth and expansion.
Okay, so
in the
I'm gonna go
21st
ahead
century,
and,
every
talk
business
through it
must
and, the
penetrate
title of my
financial
presentation
inclusion,
today
especially
is creative
for
economics,
women
growth
entrepreneurs.
and expansion.
So business growth,
creative
what is
economics,
business growth,
and expansion.
business
And
growth.
when you
is the
look at
normal
social
business
entrepreneurship
life cycle,
can advance
stages of growth,
women's role
the business
using the
owner's
lens
goals
of business
and
and
objectives,
ownership.
the
Wealth
role of
creation,
women in business
monetary
and the
progress,
world,
and especially in
business
Africa,
growth
can
is
advance
crucial
with
to the
strategic
long-term
goals of
survival
growth,
of business. The sustainability
strategic
of
goals of
businesses.
growth and
It makes it
expansion.
easier
In the
to acquire
21st century,
assets,
every business
attract new
must
talent,
penetrate
and find
financial
investments,
inclusion,
especially
the business
for
has
women
a level
entrepreneurs.
of growth
and
and
sustainability.
So business growth.
It also
What is business
drives
growth?
business performance and
business
profits,
growth
because
is the normal
that's what
business
business
life
life cycle, stages of growth.
Being in business,
The business owners
make
goals
profits
and objectives.
So the main
wealth
purpose
creation,
of any business,
monetary
is to make
profits.
Every
Business growth
company
is
should
crucial
a
to the
business
long-term
plan,
survival
or
of business.
they should have
The
a business
sustainability
growth
of
plan,
businesses,
and a
it makes
strategic
it easier
plan
to
defining
acquire
specifically
assets, attract
how
new
they are
talent,
going to grow
and find
to
investments.
become a sustainable
The business
business.
has a level
And if
of
a
growth
business
and
is
sustainability.
in business,
It
and they
also
don't have a
drives
business growth plan
performance
in
and
order
profits,
to
because
become a
that's what business
sustainable
is about.
business,
being
then
in business
it's
to
really not
make
even
profits.
necessary to even
So the
start
main
the
purpose
business.
of any
And
business,
even
folks,
those
is to make
in Africa
profits.
or women,
Every
or
company
whoever
should have
has a
business plan without question.
they should
has
have
to
a
have,
business
if you
growth
will,
plan,
that sustainable
strategic
business
plan
growth
defining
plan in
specifically
order for
how
that
they are
person
going
or
to
that
grow
business to become
sustain
a
itself
sustainable
and actually
business.
be a business. And
of
if a
long
business
term
is
essence
in
for
business
the
and they don't
community
have a
that
business
business is
growth
in,
plan,
and
in
especially
order
on the
to
continent of
become a
Africa,
sustainable
business, then it's
Now,
really not even necessary to even start the business. And even those in
now,
Africa,
there are four
women
types of
or
business
whoever
growth.
has a business,
There's what's called the
without
organic
question
type of
has
business,
to have,
the
if you
strategic
will,
type
that
of growth,
sustainable
the internal type
business
of growth,
plan.
and then
in
on
order
a much
for
larger
that person
scale,
or that
folks,
business
there's
to
acquisition
sustain
and
itself
mergers,
and
and
actually be
that,
a business,
in
of
business
long
growth like
term.
that. Now,
The
essence
business
for
for
the
the community
includes
that business is in, and
market
especially
development
on the continent
product
of
development,
Africa, marketing strategies. In the
now,
business growth model, and you can have different business growth model, but the business
now,
growth
there are
model
four types of
must
business
be a
growth.
model
There's
that
what's
is
called the
duplicated
organic type of business,
and with the
the
product or
strategic
services
type
provided,
of growth,
eventually
the internal
and
type of growth,
increasingly,
and
where
then
gains
on
and
a much
acceptance
larger
with
scale,
consumers,
folks, there's
the
acquisition
Pacific
and
industry,
mergers,
the country's
and
general
that,
public,
or
or the
business
international
growth like
market
that.
as well.
Now, the
In
business
order
growth
to
model
be sustainable.
market
Product
development,
services with
product
innovation
development,
becomes accepted in the market,
marketing
and as
strategy.
a result,
In the
sales
business
services
growth
revenue
model,
begin,
and you can have
or
different
can
business
begin
growth
to
model,
increase, but the
which is
business
what
growth
every
model
business
must
desires.
to have
Model that is
an
duplicated,
increase in sales
make
and
more
with the
profit,
product or services
become
provided,
the business that
eventually
everybody
and
knows
increasingly
about.
where gains
In other
and
words,
acceptance with
I don't
consumers,
care whether it's
the
United
Pacific
States,
industry,
wherever it
the
is,
country's
and even
general
in Africa,
public, or the
a
international
woman's
market
business
as
needs
well,
to become
in order
the
to be
business
that when
sustainable.
people look at the television,
the
they
product or services
listen
with
to the
innovation
radio, or they
becomes
looking
accepted
in the
all
market,
of the different
and as a
type of
result,
marketing
sales, services,
signs,
revenue,
and advertisement
begin
across the
or
country,
can begin to
continent,
increase.
they know
Which is
that,
what
look, you know
every
what?
business
These are
desires
professional
to
African
have
women
and increasing sales, make more profits, become the business that not everybody knows about. It just not going to happen. In other words, and so that's just the way it has to be. United States, now wherever it is, and even in Africa, a businesswoman, a woman's business needs to become, and these are some things that when people really look at the television, some specific things, listen to the radio. I don't want to just be theoretical. All of the different type of somewhat marketing signs, and so a businesswoman has to know the continent. Who is your target consumers? Understand these are the professional needs and create products and services that meet the needs of the client. You do and them what they need. Even if you're doing just a simple survey, that's just the way it has to be. Or needs analysis. So people, a business will tell you what they need, and so now you're and these are some things that working your really business in the best interest of your own consumer. I don't want to just be a number two. I want to also be someone has to know. And so a businesswoman has great customer service. One, okay, who is your target consumers? Maintaining excellent customer service, create products and services that meet the reason why the client. Any business, ask them your business will start growing, even if you're doing just a simple survey, is a valuable source or need for your business analysis, sustainability. So people, because will tell you what they need. Why are you so now business? You're marketing why and working your business and even the best interest of your own consumer or your client. Because number two, there is a businesswoman that needs to be known. I mean, taking great customer service. The businesswoman has to get to know also maintaining excellent nurture existing customers while seeking is the reason why. Any business, folks, your developing strategies to nurture and existing customers, the client will follow a valuable source for your business sustainability to build a strong customer base. Because without a anybody's customer base, even women, now you will impede the customer progress. Because specifically when you're talking about that sustainability, you know what I mean, taken care of. The businesswoman has to get to know also. A businesswoman also needs to know existing customers while seeking new opportunities. Social media, in other words, as well as developing what we call to nurture the existing customers will follow existing clients. I'm sorry, processes to build a those of you who have been in business 5, 10, and 20 years know because it doesn't matter whether you're in the United States, Africa, China, Russia, and Japan, or wherever you are. Progress. Specifically, we know, and you know sustainability. The actual mouth-to-mouth referral services now is a businesswoman also. I mean, yes, social media is a powerful marketing resource. The market to promote anybody's business, media, as well as thousands and millions of potential clients. But the typical referral service of existing client referrals, you know, is one of the best ways. Those of you who have been in business 5, 10, and 20 years know. And it doesn't matter what a businesswoman also needs to know. China, Russia, attend networking wherever you are, which means that investing time in lasting relationship become the network of mouth-to-mouth referral services. Most people purchase from individuals and business. I mean, yes, social media is a powerful they get along with to promote anybody's business, their personality. Thousands and millions of potential clients. Culture, they understand the day-to-day community, and so referrals. This is one of the best winning networking events. I mean, people definitely sustain their business. These are some very a businesswoman also needs to know. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times networking events, which means that very investing time when we talk about being in business, become a businesswoman also every need to know. Most people host new individuals and business. They know social with your best. They get along existing with customers and they understand clients. It's one of the most creative. They understand their business culture. They understand the business community. And new clients, new customers. This is why new marketing, networking opportunities, new industries. And again, these are some very sustained things. You know what I mean? Because a lot of your business people have to be sustainable. Look over the very obvious. If you want to be in business, when we talk about being in business, a businesswoman also ideally know why go into initiate and host new events. Business 1 to 3 years. Socials with your that makes no sense. Existing customers and potential go into clients is one of the most creative ways 10, 20, 30, old, and 50 years, and receive new clients, new customers, my ideal, new markets, new opportunities, that those new industries become and generational wealth business. In other words, your business, women's businesses, because your business has to be sustainable. The sons and if you want to be in one, in other words, 3 generations or more, my ideal is they are sustainable. Why go into business? And I mean, that is so very, very 1 to 3 years. That makes no sense. The next thing a woman needs to know in business is to develop professional partnerships 10, 20, mutually, monetarily, 50 years profitable. In fact, a lot of times, my ideal is even myself, I've been in business 20-some years, become, I have so generational wealth business. In other words, and those business, women's businesses are also not just down to the sons, but they are from 1 to 3 generations or more, making more because they are sustainable profits. And I mean, that is so very, participating in various community projects. And then the next thing a woman invites to know in business, develop new business partnerships, but that also are mutually, monetarily profitable. Greater, a lot of times, opportunities, partnerships, business, even myself, and in many cases, 27 years, that you will never even imagine. So many because of the partnership and those that you are developing. You know what I mean? And not business. Just, I know somebody, but they are. And then the 8 is evaluate what works, making more processes when needed to maintain quality. Participating with various your customers' needs and your customer advice, new partnership is a creative way to monitor, refine, but also measure in whether your goals are greater success opportunities. Because if your goals are not successful, and in many cases, you can come back that you will never even imagine, improve them because of the partnership and you know what, developing, make business that's outstanding. A business that is and then successful. Evaluate what works and refine makes processes when become needed to maintain sustainable. Evaluate both your customer needs and that brings us to the next service. Is a creative way to presentation monitor, refine a successful measure business. Whether your goals what is a successful business? Because we have to keep in mind successful what makes now you can come back and tweak them. Businesses that are successful, big and small, transform them, excellent, and you know what? From the very top to the very bottom, that's outstanding people. A business that is successful, quality leader. This is people who provide quality, makes business become both. A natural company culture, and that's what with clear goals defined. And that brings me to the next point. And a clear mission and vision my presentation for the company. A successful every single business that works for the company. What is a successful business? Knows it. We have to keep in mind what makes a business success. Now, businesses that are successful, big and small, need excellent customers from the very market to the very bottom. Meaning customers ordinary everything to any business supervisor. The people your business serves are people who provide quality, impactful communication. Business. A natural businesses you can help transition with clear goals, define women objectives, and a clear mission as well as great for the company, as well as every single business that works for the company. Women understand business people and corporate women work professional women life. Just like any man or any company. Successful companies always it is what it is. So customer successful market always have meaning the value of the market. Everything to any central to business. The people your business is making your clients feel valued and important. So your business will prosper. So businesses you can help transition. What makes your business women as great consumers? As well as your producers, as well as helping your company business distinguish your business from other business people. In other words, corporate making your professional women unique, just like any man or any company problem. You know what I mean? It is, but what your business has the solution. Success takes care of the needs and remove the value of the customer's pain or whatever they business need in order that is making your clients feel valued, business important. So you're also critical to business unique expansion. What makes your business as a woman business unique to take care of people, your critical needs, and also their pains and their helping reality. Your company distinguish your business from others. In other words, making a growing business is one that is expanding to solve a difficult problem or problem, business, but your business has a solution, takes care of the need and removes and the customer's pain today is whatever they need. When you go into business, and especially those of you who have dreams and desires, women, it is also whoever you are to business. When you go into business, being able as a business to take care of people, business critical needs, and also their preparation and the realities already from day one with your business on a growing plane. A growing business is one that it will grow, but also see, it's one issue to grow a business, but it's a business not only just growing to expand, but it will also at one point. In other words, what I'm saying will be expanding. When you go into business, and especially you can imagine who have dreams and desires, women, men, or whoever stream of income. When you go into business, you don't just go into business. There is no single metric to measure growth. The preparation, the planning, data, already and research that inform business on that a business is growing and expanding. But what is the difference between growth and expansion? One of the critical issues not only just a lot of times, but it will also at one point the difference, folks, between growth and expansion in one or more ways than you can imagine. A business can grow in some does your business have more than one stream of income, but also does your business have byproducts? Must grow, but also there expand. Is no single metric to measure growth. Rather, when a business grows to the extent and research that the revenue and shows us that a business can grow and expand with an increase. But what is the difference between monetary gain and expansion? Then the business is one of the shifting issues is from just a lot of growing. People don't understand the difference, folks, between growth and expansion. To have some type of metric system to measure and evaluate your business between you can measure and expand. But also one important issue is every company but needs to expand a measure of consistent growth on a consistent basis grows in order to understand that the revenue business is moving and can grow from just growing, increase, having more customers and monetary and gain, also moving to expansion. Is actually shifting. What happens is just growing from you can have a business, folks, and that may not have new customers, but the business still can grow. Well, to measure that, and evaluate the business can grow between the growth and already existing customers that you have is every company needs to have a measure of consistent growth, but on a consistent basis. In order you move to more opportunities, business, more services, and shift, and more from just growing, having more customers, helping and the also business grow. To now, I have a few recommendations. What happens and then I will end my presentation. You can have a business, a few recommendations that I may not have new can be very helpful. The business still not only grow anywhere. Business, what do you mean by that? Well, for African women and organizations, they started the already existing customers that you have. And here are some of those recommendations. You are providing them more services. Number one, I highly recommend but there be a national when you move economic to more opportunities for economic more services expansion of and business, more including women businesses. Things the national economic plan the business grow. It's not a mandatory plan, and then someone is controlling some other country. A few recommendations that I think can be very helpful. Not only is a national business, but specifically economic women and organizations economic growth started growing and expanding their business. Quality business and here are some of those recommendations. And partnership, number one, so that I highly recommend that there women be a national, a vision, economic, a strategic for economic growth and expansion of businesses, including women's businesses. The National African Economic Plan is not a mandatory that are already been researched. Someone is controlling some other country of business, and that's not what I'm talking about. That folks, what I'm talking about is a national and African economic plan for economic growth and expansion the entire based upon of quality business relationship. Number two, and partnership, so that people number two have women have the second recommendation vision is to create what I call a BCC. That it leads to nothing business certification course that trains and certifies women that are already been researched. They've been tested through proper models and business knowledge history and wisdom that they can take. If that is done and use them, now you can take a woman just like you take anybody. Their business and all after they are the entire continent, they can operate a business from start to finish. Every day, each day, 365 days. One of the second recommendation be not is only to create what I call a BCC, efficient, what is and be sustainable business certification. Number 3 that trains and certifies women, and these are collaborative global things that we need to do, not just Africa, but also work with Africa. And if that is done, what I call now you can take a woman just like you can take anybody. And it is a business endowment fund. They can operate a business from start to finish, funding every day, and providing capital money 365 days for new and existing businesses, and be not only for the sole purpose, but be efficient when a woman and be opens and sustainable business. That business can go 10, 20. We need to, and these are collaborative. It has a level thing that we need to do, not just Africa, but also work with Africa, and then is to create what I call a BE. I got a few more. So what is a BE? Finish. It is a business endowment fund, the annual foundation, women and funding and providing capital money to support and develop African women and existing businesses as an advocate for the sole purpose. Number 5, that create a woman entrepreneurship starts a business as an infrastructure can go to build a new generation, 30 years of women. It is entrepreneurs. It has a level of sustainability infrastructure and makes it harder. And for instance, if a woman came to anyone and said, well, how do I start a business? What do I do? And then 4 is continue to have, if you have the annual foundation, develop more infrastructure summit every year now to support and develop African women in places and they can go as a develop business advocacy. And that's just number 5. Number 6, create an entrepreneurship, create a women's business as an infrastructure to assist to women build a new generation and women in order to develop more, because thousands without infrastructure of like-minded harder women. In order, if a woman came to anyone and said, how do I start a business? What do I do of successful women in business? If we can help develop, and then finally more infrastructure, folks, now that gives women places and places that they can go, and then I'll be finished. Develop network, and that's just partnership. And then number 6 and other lending institutions, women to create micro loans to assist women to borrow money and become a successful in business in order to develop expansion. More for women to have more business opportunities, like-minded business networking in order that they what I call it interdependent way, in other words, of successful another way of having in business collaboration, and then finally, in order that women too can be very, very last recommendation I have, and then I'll be finished is develop networking. You know what I mean? The whole thing about other is lending institutions to create micro loans and expansion to borrow money for the business. And I end with this for business because expansion. If for women to have more business opportunity now and networking business, and in a I want to see her business interdependent way, and in other words, expand another way of having long-term collaboration and develop generational wealth, in order that women be successful can be very, very. I want to thank you for in business giving me the honor to present this. You know, the whole thing about is this creative economics, growth and expansion, social entrepreneurship, being creative in women. And I end with this, man, because I want to thank you very, very much. If a woman right now,
wonderful, thank you so much, Dr. Steele.
I want to see
that
her
was a really engaging presentation. You didn't even need a PowerPoint slide because we were all very attentive
and develop generational wealth.
There's quite a number of interesting concepts that you raised, And
I
I'm
want to
sure
thank
that the
you for
audience will
giving me the
will have
honor to present
number of
this
questions for you.
presentation
But
today
before we move to the Q&A
on
for Dr.
creative
Steele,
economics,
I just
growth
want
and
to give
expansion,
Dr.
social
Kelly and
entrepreneurship
Dr.
for
Kelly
African women
the heads up that he
in
is our
business.
next speaker.
I want to thank
And
you
following
very,
him,
very
we will
much.
have Dr. Funia, who will be the speaker after
Wonderful.
him.
Thank
and
you
we will
so
then
much,
close.
Dr. Steele.
So I
that
would
was
love
a
to
really
open the
engaging
opportunity for
presentation.
questions to Dr.
We
Steele.
didn't even
We
need
have
a
a comment
PowerPoint slide
from
because we were
Hillary
all very
Gooden to say
attentive.
Dr. Ralph Steele.
And thank you
there's
for such
quite
an
a number
inspiring
of
talk,
interesting concepts
with many
that he
nuggets.
raised.
We have
And I'm
Phyllis
sure that the
Weaver who
audience
says, Dr.
will,
Steele, great
will
presentation.
have a
Thank
number
you
of
for the
questions for you.
information.
But before we move to the Q&A
Q&A
for
for
Dr.
Dr. Thank you,
Steele,
Dr.
I just want to give Dr. Kelly
and
very powerful and
Dr.
helpful.
Kelly, thank you so much,
heads
Dr.
up that
Ralph
he is
Steele.
our next speaker. And following him,
I will
we
give it a
have
minute or
Dr.
so to see
Funia,
if there's any
who will be
questions.
the speaker
But
after him,
this
and we will
is,
then close.
So
this is really good.
I would love to open the
thoroughly
opportunity
enjoyed your
for talk.
questions to Dr.
We
Steele.
do have a request.
We
for
have
your
a comment
contact information,
from
Dr.
Hillary
Steele.
Gooden to
If
say
you could
Dr.
perhaps
Ralph
put
Steele
that
into the chat
Thank
box,
you for
that would
such
be
an
great.
inspiring talk.
And we have
with many
Magda
nuggets.
Kalinki saying
have
that
Phyllis
Dr.
Weaver
Steele
who says,
is my
Dr.
role
Steele,
model.
great presentation.
Wonderful.
Thank you for the information.
Dr. Kelly is
Magda
unfortunately not
Kalinki
able
says,
to
thank
join
you,
us
Dr.
as the
Steele.
speaker.
And Shantae Paul says, very
as the
powerful
next
and
speaker.
helpful.
But
Thank you
if
so
we
much,
could
Dr.
maybe
Ralph
request
Steele.
Dr. Margaret Funia to take
I will
on that
give it a
role
minute or so to
as the
see if
next
there's any
speaker, that would be
questions.
amazing.
But this is
so this
thank
is
you
really
so
good.
much, Dr.
We
Steele.
thoroughly enjoyed your
We
talk.
really appreciate
We
the
do have
value
a
and the
request
input
for
that
your
you
contact
provided.
information, Dr.
And
Steele.
if you
we're
could
ready to
perhaps
move
put
on
that
to
into the
Dr.
chat box, that
Margaret
would be great.
Funia.
I will
Thank
do
you
it.
very
We
much.
have
Magda Kalinki saying that
I'm
Dr.
going to do a
Steele
quick introduction
my
to
role
Dr.
model.
Funia. Just
Wonderful.
one moment while I grab my notes.
Dr. Kelly is unfortunately not able to join us as a speaker. As the next speaker, but if we could maybe
Dr.
request
Funia
Dr.
is
Margaret
the
Funia
author
to
of
take
The
on that
Colours
role
of Power,
as the next speaker, that would
Soaring
be
to
amazing.
Greatness.
So preparing
Thank you
for the
so much,
harvest,
Dr. Steele.
Planting
We
good
really
seeds for the
appreciate the
kingdom,
value
and
and the
Mary
input that
Koala
you
goes to
provided.
hospice.
And
The Koala family
we're
faces
ready
a
to move on to
Dr.
terminal illness.
Margaret Funia.
Dr. Funia
I
is a
will
Thank you very
co-host
much.
of Sean Fair Leadership.
I'm
going to do a
group,
quick
an
introduction to Dr.
international
Funia.
speaker
Just one
for
moment
the
while I
Sean
grab
Fair
my
Leadership
notes.
Conference and
the
host of her digital
so,
television show entitled Healing and
Dr.
Power with Dr.
Funia.
Margaret. And Health
Dr.
and Healing with
Funia
Dr. Margaret.
is the author
She is
of
CEO
The
and
Colours
owner
of
of Color of Power,
Soaring to
The
Greatness.
logo of her company is Healing and Power.
Preparing for
Her
the
shows
harvest,
create
planting
platforms
good,
to
good seeds
motivate,
for the kingdom,
dedicate,
Mary Koala
and
goes to
educate the
hospice.
family,
The koala
community,
family
and the
faces
world
on
the
terminal
healing
illness.
process. Dr. Funia is a co-host of Sean
Dr.
Fair
Funia
Leadership,
is affectionately
consulting
known
group,
as the
an
Colonel
international speaker
because of her
for the
exceptional
Sean Fair
leadership
Leadership
skills
Conference
and
and
attention to
the host
detail
of her
while
digital
serving the
television show
army,
entitled
Healing
Serving
and
in the
Power
Army Nurse with
Corps.
Dr. Margaret. And Health
Dr.
and Healing with
Funia
Dr.
has
Margaret.
served 27 years
She
in
is
the Army Nurse
CEO
Corps,
and owner of
retiring
Color
in
of
2012.
Power with the
The
rank
logo
of
of her
Lieutenant
company
Colonel.
is Healing and Power.
And with that,
Her
I will hand
shows
over to
create
Dr. Funia
platforms
to
Thank you.
motivate, dedicate, and educate the family, community,
Well, hello, everyone.
and the
I am
world
just
on
so
the healing
thrilled
process.
to be a part of this summit and all the great speakers
Dr.
that have
Funia
come
is
before me and
affectionately
those
known
that
as the
will follow
Colonel
me.
because of her
I am a
exceptional
lieutenant
leadership
colonel. I
skills
retired in
and attention to
2012.
detail while
And
serving the
for
Army.
those of you who don't know it,
Is serving in the Army
being
Nurse
Black,
Corps.
being a woman,
Dr. Funia
and
has
being
served
an
27
officer
years in the
in
Army Nurse
any
Corps,
of our
retiring in
services
2012
are
with the rank of
obstacles.
Lieutenant
Because
Colonel.
first of all,
And with that, I
the
will hand over
military,
to
no
Dr.
matter how you
Funia.
look at it,
Thank
is still a
you.
man's work. I grew up
Well, hello,
as a
everyone. I am
sharecropper's
just
daughter. My
so
mother and
thrilled to be a
father,
part of
they
this
raised
summit
14
and all the
children.
great speakers that
And
have
so
come before
growing up
me
in
and those
Tennessee
that will follow me.
being a sharecropper's daughter,
I
when we
am
were
a
still
lieutenant colonel. I
we don't
retired in
have money.
2012.
In order for
And
you
for
to
those
get
of
out
you
of
who
here
don't
and
know
to
it,
do things,
being
because we're
Black,
at a small town,
being a woman,
you have
and
to
being an
use
officer
your
in
head.
any of our services.
And we were very, very
obstacles.
smart. Because
All
first
of
of
us
all,
were A students,
the military, no matter how how you look at it, it's still a man's world. And so I grew up in us as a sharecropper's daughter. You have to use your father. They have to get more than the person And so growing up in Tennessee, no matter what color, being a sharecropper's daughter, and so instilled it at the age of 15. In order for you to get out of here and to do things, because being a Southern girl, first time you have those tall buildings. There I was. You could tell I was very. I had very smart. A dress. All of us. And socks were A students and valedictorians. And so looked upon, laughed upon, but still. And so they instilled my parents instilled in to make it. You have to use your head. Lord. You have to get more than the person that's sitting next to you. If you put him no matter what color, no weapon formed against you will ever prosper. At the age of 15, so with that, I knew I had obstacles. I went to live in Chicago in front of me. Now, being a Southern girl, and she told me never lose sight of those tall buildings. And the prize is, you could tell I was country. Jesus I had has given a dress, and each day that you wake up, you have an opportunity. I mean, to be better than you were yesterday. Laughed upon, but still. So with that instilled in me, my parents instilled off in Chicago to graduate from high school will guide you through. And then that if you put him first, no weapon. I went on to get my bachelor's degree from Howard University College of Nursing. So with that, I knew I had. But before that, in front of my ex-husband, and she told me never lose sight of the prize. Had this notion, and the prize being a man and what a doctor, he could do has given one. Each day that you wake up, you have an opportunity to be better than you were yesterday. And left. So with that instilled there in me, I was. I set off in Chicago, Virginia, Arlington, graduate from didn't know how to drive, catching the bus and everywhere. Then, so I decided those were I went on to get my bachelor's degree from Howard University College of Nursing, not God. So I bought myself a car. You hear me? I bought a car who was in med school. I bought a car. Notion that went to DMV and a doctor and got my driver's license. I drove myself home of being unfaithful, and in the process of doing all left that, me, and there I was of my husband leaving me in Virginia, pulmonary embolism. Didn't know how to drive. And for those of you who don't know what that is, catching the bus, blood clot that dislodges. Those were obstacles that man through the parts of the body, and wherever it lands. Is where you so I bought myself a car. You hear me? With me, that blood clot landed on the right side of my heart. I bought a car. Now the right side is went better to DMV than the left side because the left side my takes driver's blood directly through. I drove myself home. The right side uses of doing all your lower extremity of my husband respiratory. I threw a pulmonary. So that was the best place for it. And for those of you who don't know, so there I was in a blood clot that dislodges on IV and travel through the parts of the body and getting blood work every hour is where I have to continue to throw clots because I with me that blood clot landed on the right side of my heart. Now the right side is better than the left side from how because the left side takes blood directly through as well as my instructor came along and said the right side do not die for this man. Your lower extremity. You have to get yourself respiratory. So that was the best place for quote unquote. So there I was in the hospital bed. I will never ever forget that. On IV, I was going into my senior year, getting blood work every hour because I continued to throw obstacles placed before me. Needed to take exams. I had in the hospital. Well, I tell you what, teacher, I got myself up out of that hospital bed. As well as my instructor came along and said, I took not die for this my exams and passed you have so to that get I could yourself together. And with that, I went from one extreme to the other, quote unquote, from being dependent. Tell him to get his shit and get independent. I will never ever forget that. Fiercely independent. Going into I was senior class president year at the College of Nursing. Obstacles. I was undergraduate, needed to take vice exams, and there I was in a student union. Well, I tell you what, I got myself up out of that hospital bed, and also still on sorority, and I was its president. I took my senior, I joined my exams as far as passed, so that I could be a senior. Politics, because I love that. I went from one extreme to the other. from being there, I decided to join the Army. I joined the Army to be independent, fiercely independent. And to just I was senior class what God had set me to do and what my college had set for me to do. I was going into the Army, vice president, strikes against me before I even entered. I was the CEO. Female. And also, I joined the I went in as a second lieutenant. And I was its president. Immediately as I got into I joined all the Army as far as I was told that I was politics because I love getting my degree and bettering myself in serving the Army. And there I decided to join the Army. Because I joined the Army to be independent, educate yourself and better yourself, and to just you can be better for what God had set others to do and what my parents. And so I didn't understand that because I was pursuing going into the Army degree and healthcare against me before I even at Fort Sam, Black here in San Antonio, Texas, female. So my officer evaluations, I went in as a second lieutenant, were not good. Immediately as I got into couldn't the take me Army out of. No matter how many strikes I got in getting my because how can you punish an officer serving the Army for bettering herself by getting because if I went to school at night, educate yourself and still serve the military. You can be better. And you know what? For others, they scheduled me to work, and so I didn't understand that because I was pursuing my master's degree. They scheduled me to work when I was going to be walking down here in San Antonio, Texas. And none of the nurses would switch with me. Evaluations. So I went and filed a complaint, but they couldn't take me. And they heard me as no matter how many strikes I got. And so one of the because how can you punish an officer? Said, well, did they know you for bettering herself by getting a degree? I went to school and I said my head nurse is in the same and still class as I am. And she's graduating as I am. They scheduled me we to have discussed many the shift courses. We were in the same group. They scheduled me to work. Yes, she knew when I was going to be walking down the aisle scheduled me to work night shift. And none of the nurses would switch. Well, the interview panel agreed. So I went and filed a complaint. So they made and they heard me as I talked. Take over my shift. And so one of the entire shift, you guys, that was interviewing me said, well, did they know just enough time to walk down the aisle? And I said, my head back in my car is in the same class as I am. And she's graduating but you know what? As I am. We have discussed many courses. We were in the same group because they did not expect that from me. Yes, she knew. No weapon intentionally against me scheduled me to prosper as long as I am in the interview panel agreed that it was racial. So second lieutenant, the first lieutenant nurse, because now I had over my shift degree, but not the entire shift. You guys had her master's degree. They gave me just enough time, so they got me out of that walk down the aisle, get my degree, and the next thing you know, car, and come. I decided I wanted to go to, but you know what? Würzburg. I did overseas because there they had an opportunity because they did not expect an officer. No weapon to go and help them get against me will ever join commission. As long as I person wanted to go, I volunteered. And when I volunteered, second lieutenant to first lieutenant, because now I had my master's degree. Would escalate. My head nurse, the commander, had her master's degree of the hospital. So they got me out of that. And the commander of the post. And the next thing you know, 5-star work. I decided I wanted to go a coin because I helped them to joint commission overseas. Immediately promoted because there they had an opportunity. Now, must I say, and my head nurse that was on that unit to go and help them get out from joint commission. She didn't no even other person wanted to go. I volunteered to go into the reserves because I decided at that time I was going to go and into the reserves and pursue another master's degree. I came back with because I remember what my mom told me. The commander more than the person next to you, no matter what color. And the so I wanted a second master's. Gave me 5-star work. She told me, well, we're going to not let you go into reserves. How can you not let me go into the reserves? To captain. But they did everything and they now must I say that's my head nurse that was on that unit. I still She didn't even want me to go into the reserves because I decided the Army Nurse Corps go into the reserves and pursue and said this is master's degree. Because I remember what my mom told me. So they sent me to get my master's of nursing than the person next to you, no matter what. Free of charge. So I wanted a second. I didn't have to attend any. She told me, well, be on the unit. We're going to I got not let you go into the reserves. 2 years. Can you not let me just go into the reserves? Long-term schooling. They did everything and they worked together. And who's ever heard of that? So you know what? Black officer. I still long-term schooling. Only thing I had to do was bring home at least a B in graduate school. Didn't have the Army Nurse Corps. Sit-ups, push-ups, nothing. It was all said, this is racial. I did that. This is a problem. So I have 2 masters. So they sent me to get my master's of nursing. Next thing you know, there I am. Free of charge. I decided I didn't have to attend any PhD. Be on the unit. That's what I did. I started out getting my 2 years to just go to school. And then while at long-term schooling, as they call it, I was promoted to lieutenant. Who's ever heard of that? Black officer, lieutenant colonel, long-term schooling. Like only thing I had to do was bring home in all at the least to be in graduate school. Do your research. Didn't have to find out how many sit-ups, push-ups, female. It was all the Lord. I did that. Get the percentage. 2 masters, particularly back in 2000. Next thing you know, there I am. So, I decided there I am. Fort Sam Houston, like a PhD, chief of case management. So that means that I was in charge of soldiers who were coming back. And then while at Fort Sam Houston, they were promoted to lieutenant in Afghanistan. Inpatient burn lieutenant colonel, outpatient looked like responsible. Do your research in all the corps. Do your research case man and find out how many black that's on female lieutenant colonel. Let me tell you, when God has a plan for you, get the percentage. Nothing, particularly back in 2000. Talk about obstacles. There's no obstacles for the Lord. There I am. He just said, be a willing vessel. Chief of case management. And my parents. That means that I was in charge of soldiers who were coming in my brain. All branches. And so I said, they were injured in Afghanistan. To carry out the purpose. Inpatient burn unit. Outpatient. So here I am working on case for their health. I was, and I decided another that after 2012 was time to get out. I'd done enough. Let me tell you, when God has a plan for you, nothing and no one can take it. You know what? Talk about obstacles. There's no obstacles for the Lord. He just say, be a willing vessel. I got a call 2013 and echoing in my brain. The office of. And so I set forth Michelle Obama to carry out the purpose that the Lord has given me out of the military and said, so here I am working on case wounded warriors. Your leadership, and I decided we've heard about that after 2012 was time to get out. We want you. I'd done enough to be with us for the entire week of Barack Obama's inauguration. I became a civilian, a GS, African American president. Now, first, I got a call. Y'all know I thought somebody playing a trick from the office. Said, yeah, sure. Michelle Obama said, "I'm sending you." Yes, Michelle Obama. She's not out of the military. She's having her staff and said, because of the work that you do for wounded, the information that I need, your leadership ability to be in Washington D.C. for the inauguration. We want you. Gave her my email to be with us for the entire week. I got Barack Obama's inauguration, a White House stamp. First, y'all know what African American president. The White House now first, seal, of course, with everything. Y'all know, congratulations because of your leadership ability. So I said, yeah, sure. I flew and she said, I'm sending for the entire week. No, she's not. She's having her staff send over all President the information that I needed and Vice to be in Washington D.C. Joe Biden inauguration and Jill. So and Michelle gave her my email address. Still, I presented them with a coin. Each I got an email with in a plaque, a White House stamp that I had created. Y'all know what for Wounded Warriors. The White House sealed with everything. Congratulations. Because of that whole week, I participated in every event. I flew to Washington, D.C. for the entire week. Yeah, it was publicized in the news. And did you know the Army tried to take credit? Oh, that's our colonel. That's our vice president. That's how they Joe Biden. They and come Jill, when the accolades come. But I knew it was the Lord. I presented them with a coin. Each, when I got back, family, in a plaque, I got that I had created from President Barack Obama, Wounded Warriors, and a letter from Vice President Joe Biden, thanking me for that whole week. I participated in every event and for my leadership ability. And I have got home. Yeah, it was publicized in the news. And did you know the Army tried to take credit? Oh, that's our colonel. I received that's our, but that's how they do. They come to be invited when the accolades come. But I knew it was the Lord. Vice President going President Joe Biden. When I got back, he remembered me. He remembered a letter from President Barack Obama and asked me to come to Vice President Joe Biden, because I have a show, a TV show that's called Health and Healing with Dr. Mark. And for my leadership ability, my platform allows people to come on and talk about their loss. 2020, being a servant. The inaugural committee gave me permission to be invited to air my show live, Vice as part of the inaugural presidents, Joe Biden. Because he remembered me. There again, Black, he remembered me. Female, not officer, and asked me to come to Washington, D.C. Because I have a show, a TV show that's called Health and Healing with Dr. Margaret. My platform allows people to come on and talk about their loss happened on the 6th. So people say, oh, it's going to be dangerous. Don't go. I said, the inaugural committee, the Lord is my shepherd, gave me permission. I shall not want to air my show live as part of the inaugural events to Washington, D.C. There again, I met Black, my sister, female, my great friend, my mentor, not officer, doctor, but a servant. I had a chance to put my arms around her. There's that seal again, the White House support. Was no joke. The love she had shown me. And the insertion, a sister of God. I had a chance to meet 6. So people would say, oh, it's going to be dangerous. Don't go. I said, the Lord is my shepherd. They let me do a documentary. They did a documentary on me. A documentary. I flew to Washington, D.C. life as a leader, a Black female leader. My being sister, a Howard University grad. My mentor, remember I told you the story of Howard University now? Lotus Richey. I had a chance to put my which is the British Broadcasting Network for the support. The love decided to do a documentary on my leadership. A sister of God. I had a chance to meet her. Back to Howard University, and while I was where it all began, and videoed me. They let me do a documentary. They did a documentary on me. And then I was able to do my show as a leader, a Black female as part of one of the events. Being a Howard University grad. Remember I told you the story of Howard University events. Black, the BBC, female, which is the British Broadcasting Network, decided to do a documentary on my leadership. The pandemic took me back to Howard University where it all began. We've had obstacles before, and but to me, being an author, that doesn't make sense. I follow, and then I was able to do my we as women, there are obstacles as part of one of these. It's hard to get support. Everybody could join in from people who look at you and see who you are. Black, female, but none of my degrees. And I finally got my PhD. Yes, I did. None of my degrees defined me. The pandemic, I am a daughter, is as the most high. That defines me. And I have to walk before, but to me, being because an author, no weapon formed against me, no obstacle put before me. Follow the Lord. We as women, there are obstacles form anything against me. It's hard to get support. For I am from people who look at you and see who you are. He say that I am. But none of my degrees, and I'm doctor, and I finally got my PhD, yes, I 4 year homes. None of my degrees retired lieutenant colonel, me. End of life, hospice, of the most coach. That defines me. And I have to walk a international speaker because no weapon TV formed against me, no obstacle put before me. Most of all, I'm a child of the living God. Can conquer. I thank you for this opportunity to share anything against me. Some of the purpose, because I still don't know what purpose he has. And let me tell you, tomorrow I'll be flying to Washington, D.C. Margaret, I was asked by Dr. Lotus and Dr. Johan Colonel to walk side by side end of as life he finishes his walk of forgiveness over 45 years. Black, international speaker, servant, walking TV alongside God's chosen. But most of all, thank you. I'm a child of the living God.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fania.
Thank you for this opportunity to share.
It was really great to hear your life story and also how you've overcome so many challenges in your life to get to where
let me tell you.
And
tomorrow I'll be flying to Washington, D.C.
Do not allow other people to define who you are to walk side by side as he finishes his follow your dreams and follow your heart and follow the fighting spirit within you. So I'm sure that that can resonate with many of us here and many in the audience.
God's chosen.
I would love to open up comments and questions. Thank you so much, Dr. Fania. That was quite inspirational. It was really one that says, great to hear your life story, inspiring and also how you overcome so many challenges in your life to get to where you followed onward. And the key message there is never give up. Today at this summit, I'm growing with these inputs. Thank you. Allow Fondation-Lab and allies for and to tell you where your journey incredible speakers follow your dreams and follow your heart and follow the fighting spirit. This is encouraging. And it's certainly so I'm sure that to my entrepreneurship of us here. Thank you so much, Apolline. I'm sure those are very inspiring. I would love to open up comments also questions before we also close. To the others in the room. And I think we have 2 comments from the others. One that says, wow, Florence, Dr. Story from says, thank you for your kind feedback, and followed on with, we learn would anyone else like to ask a question? But today, raise your hand. I'm growing with these inputs. Thank you, or Fondation-Lab and allies for pinpointing for us these incredible speakers to incite us to action. This is encouraging and it's certainly contributing. Dr. Fania, I wanted to say thank you so much on behalf of Fondation-Lab, as well as Dr. Lotus, Dr. Fania, but also we really appreciate your contributions. Also to the others in the room, and I think Florence, on behalf of before we play out the present. Closing, Florence, closing video clip. Says, thank you for your kind feedback. Maybe just share some of your thoughts on the wrap up. Would anyone else like to ask a question? Just a couple of comments your hand from Hillary Gooden saying, Dr. Margaret, you are amazing. Chat box. Dr. Ralph still has a question that says, Doctor, what one thing give him a minute, but Dr. Fania, I wanted to say thank you so much on behalf of Dr. Fondation-Lab, wow, as well as Dr. Lotus is one of the biggest challenges now for Black women in social media. Florence, before we play out the 2 questions there, the first from Dr. Ralph Steele, the closing video was the one thing that helped you overcome. You maybe just share some of your thoughts on the wrap up for today. Just a couple of comments one of here the biggest challenges now for Black women in social media. Dr. Margaret, you are amazing.
Well, first of all, we
Oh,
are
well,
always
Dr. Ralph still has a
overcoming. We have
question
never overcome.
that says, Doctor,
we
what
continue
one thing
to
helped you
strive
overcome?
for
And before you answer
for people
that,
to
there's a
believe
comment
that
from
we can get the
Dr.
job
Riche
done.
to say, wow, Dr. Margaret, what do you
equality.
find
And-
is
and I'm not
one of the
about,
biggest challenges now for Black women in social
you know,
media?
raising up
Correction,
signs and,
media.
and running in the
Okay,
street
so two questions
and doing
there. The
all that
first from
kind of
Dr.
thing.
Ralph
I'm
Steele.
about
What
performance.
was the one thing that helped you
So we
overcome?
talk about
And the next one
what
from
we
Dr.
want,
Lotus Riche to
but
say,
there's no action
do you
behind it.
find one of
So
the biggest
put your
challenges now for Black women
follow
in
your
social media?
dream,
What
no
do you
matter
find?
what. There will be
Well,
obstacles.
first
If
of
there's
all,
no obstacles, I don't
we
want it
are
because
always
you got
overcoming.
everybody
We
doing
have
it.
never
I
overcome.
want something.
We
my
continue
purpose.
to
Each one
strive
of us has
for,
a purpose.
we're
For people to
we're part
believe
of that
that
puzzle.
we can get the job
We have
done.
a piece of the
and
puzzle.
equality.
No one can feel
and
that
I'm not
piece
about
except for you.
So
You know,
you have to
raising
ask,
up signs
what is
and,
my
and,
purpose?
and running in the street
and once
and
you
doing
know
all
it,
that kind of thing.
all you have to do is
I'm
ask
about
Father, he'll tell you.
performance. This is your purpose.
So we talk
Then
about
set forth what we want.
do it.
As
But
far
there's
as the
no
media goes,
action
social
behind
media. So put your
They
active,
think
follow
that,
your dream, no matter what.
well,
There will be
let me tell you.
obstacles. If there's no obstacles,
When I first
I don't
got
want
out of the
it
military,
because you
we
got
went to work in a
everybody
civilian
doing that.
hospital.
I want something.
They
my
asked me about
purpose.
my skills.
Each one of us
Clearly,
has
they were
a
thinking of
purpose.
math
We're
and
part of that
and
puzzle.
Private
We have a
Benjamin. That's
piece of the puzzle.
that's the
puzzle.
connotation that
No
they had.
one can feel
not
that
knowing
piece
that
except for you.
we.
So
So
we're out in the field.
you have to ask, what
we
is my
have to
purpose?
set up
And once you
hospitals
know
from
it,
tents.
all you have to do is ask
Work
the Father,
with the
he'll tell you.
wounded. That's
This is your
coming not
purpose.
from the
Then set
hospital
forth action.
things
then do
where
it.
it's so convenient.
As far as the media
we
goes,
have to
social
create
media,
our own hospital. So
they
our
think
skills
that,
have to come from
well,
mentally
let me
as
tell you.
well as physical. When I first got out of
Social
the military,
media,
I
I
think,
think,
still
hospital.
looks at us
They asked me about my
as
skills.
hot lips.
Clearly, they
hula
were
hen,
thinking
running
of
after
MASH
men
and
that type
and
of
Private Benjamin. That's
scenario.
That's the connotation.
Now, I'm not saying
they
that there
have.
aren't
knowing,
hot lips
not
running
knowing that,
around, but that I
we,
think there are
when
more
we're out in the
female
field,
leaders. We have to,
because we have a
set up
job to do,
hospitals
and
from
we know our
tents.
purpose.
Work with the wounded
And yes,
that's coming, not
we
from
love.
the hospital
We
things
lose.
where it's so convenient.
Look at where the
we
nurses,
have to create
what the
our
nurses
own
are doing
hospital.
right now in the pandemic.
So our skills
they
have
are
to
front
come
and
from
center.
mentally as well
Yet,
as physical. Have you heard about increased pay?
Hazard
Media,
pay
I think, still
things
looks for
at
nurses
us
because we are
as hot lips, hula hand,
running
military,
after
front
men,
line.
and that type of
But yet and still.
scenario. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't, they're
hot
not
lips
taking
running
us serious,
around.
but
So
I
there's a
think there are
shortage.
more female
There's a shortage
leaders
of
healthcare workers. So because we have a
Until they
job
take
to
us
do
serious.
and we know our purpose, we will always
yes,
be overcome.
we
love. We lose.
Thank you so
Look at
much,
where
Dr.
the
Finia. That
nurses-
is a very
what the
valid
nurses
point.
are doing
I'm
right
sure
now in the
it
pandemic.
strikes home
They are front
quite
and center.
strongly.
Yet, have you
On that
heard about
note,
increased
I
pay?
want to say
Hazard
thank
pay,
you as well for your time and
things
to
for
the other
nurses
speakers,
because we
as well
are
as to our guests. But
front
Dr.
line, there
Nisabwe would
again,
like to
military,
just
front
share
line.
some words, and then we'd like for
But
you
yet
to
and
just
still,
hang around for a few moments later to watch our
they're
closing
not taking
ceremony.
us seriously.
Or
So there's a
closing,
shortage.
before
There's a shortage
we
of
prepare
healthcare
for
workers.
tomorrow. So I'm hoping, and
until they
the
take
team
us
on
serious,
Foundation-Lab
we will always
Afrique
be
Burundi
overcome.
is hoping that tomorrow you will join us. Same time, Thank you same so place, much, Dr. Finia. That is a for very another valid point. power-packed I'm day sure it strikes of home speakers and quite strongly. also remember to share this on your social media. On that note, platforms. I want to over to you, say Dr. thank Florence, you as well for your time and to the other speakers, as well as to our guests. But Dr. Nisabwe would like to just share some words, and then we'd like for you to just hang around for a few moments later to watch our closing ceremony. Or closing before we prepare for tomorrow. So I'm hoping, and the team on Foundation-Lab Afrique Burundi is hoping that tomorrow you will join us, same time, same place, for another power-packed day of speakers, and also remember to share this on your social media platforms. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Florence.
Our inspiration Thank you so much. And thank you so much, dear distinguished, to bring solution on the table, participants. But as I mentioned earlier, I'm really grateful. No one can do it alone. We have had together, even the government, Fondation-Lab, coming together is the best route to get the solution. Why? Because the pandemic has stolen us years of advancement, challenging issues that we are facing or we are faced with during this pandemic. We are gathering here today is after the COVID pandemic, because it is not easy. Inspiration aftermath and also commitment. I'm really thanking you for your time, your availability. But as I mentioned, to join us with no one can do it alone, and powerful, even the government contribution to coming together to the Fondation-Lab to get a great sign of a beginning of a collaboration, a challenging as we are coming together issues. And remember that we are facing the objective with the endpoint for this summit and to build an entrepreneur ecosystem, the COVID pandemic, to allow our communities not to benefit from our skills, our knowledge, and what we can offer. I'm really thanking you for your time, you so your much availability for being with us in this to join us. And we hope that tomorrow and after tomorrow we will be again together. And until we meet again, a great sign of the beginning of a collaboration.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nisa.
We are coming together. And remember, the objective, the end point for this summit is to build an entrepreneurial ecosystem to allow our communities to benefit from our skills, our knowledge, and what we can offer, what we can do better. So thank you so much for being with us in this journey, and we hope that tomorrow and after tomorrow we will be again together. And until we meet again, please stay safe, be blessed.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nisa, for that.
Hello, and thank you so much for joining us here today at the first annual Fondation-Lab Summit, which has been a phenomenal global event, and we thank you for all that you have done and for what you will continue to do. Please join us tomorrow as we start 8 a.m. sharp, looking for you to be a part of the change that matters, because change starts with you. I thank you and have a great day, and can't wait to see you later on this evening. You can join me with my guest as we share wonderful news about caregivers and diversity. None other than the remarkable Miss Charlene Sparks will grace my show this evening on the Lotus Richey Night Show. So until we meet again, be blessed and don't stress. And remember, Foundation-Lab is where we want to see you tomorrow.
Thank you so much for your
Foundation-Lab first annual summit. It's that time to grab your time to grab this amazing social entrepreneurship empowerment. Our summit sponsors and summit organizers look forward to seeing you at the event on the 27th through the 29th of October 2021 on Zoom. Our summit is going to focus on a powerful social entrepreneurship as economic development policies, along with other topics that is sure to knock your socks off. Our host, Dr. Lawrence Insabre, Dr. Lotus Richey, and Dr. Ralph Steele. I'm delighted to see you there. Grab your virtual ticket today.